I know it's been
Yeah.
up and down for us.
Internet's been
Okay,
I'm gonna
shoddy.
log off and then log back in because y'all are
okay,
all like in and out. Hold on.
okay.
And you're going in and out, Miss Tavalli.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
Oh, she was, but I'm good, y'all. I'm good. You can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and then if you noticed, I invited our compliance title specialist, Carlise Landeros. So she's awesome. I emailed her last night. I said, you know what, I'm going to cover some
Well,
title
now you're going in
information.
and out.
Really?
For me, and yeah, my internet is really bad here, but now you were just going in and out. Yeah.
Okay. Should I talk slower or no? A little bit? Okay. So I invited Carlise to join us. So she's going to have her camera off. But when I get to the slide on title, then she's going to be able to answer any questions. I see Hooks. You're going like this. Is it not doing good? Okay.
Hooks, I logged off and went back on and now she's good. So maybe you just need to log off and come back. I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay, Principal Hooks, how do I sound now? Better? Okay, awesome. Okay, awesome. Well, good morning, y'all. It's 11:03. We're going to go ahead and get started. And like I said, we are going to have a quick review. And the slide deck that I'm going to go over is the slide deck that was presented to you at our last principals meeting on that Wednesday. And so what we're going to be doing is covering that. We're going to go into a little bit about title. I know we did talk about title when we were at our principals meeting, but I want you now to be able to look at your positions and then the amount of funds that you are going to be allocated to be able to use for your campus. And so that is why I invited Carlise. It's not working, Hooks? Do I
It's
sound
like
like
you go,
really?
That's what it sounds like.
Okay, so Francisco, do you think it's because the recording or no?
But go ahead. I'll make it out. Go ahead.
Okay, I apologize why it's not working. Y'all give me a thumbs up if all of a sudden all of y'all start hearing me pausing like that. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can y'all let me know? Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Thank you, because you know when I share my screen now, I can't see you. So, okay, it's loading. So meanwhile, Carlise sent, I asked her for each of your title funds amounts for next year, and she sent me all your boss sheets. And so Francisca is going to send each of the boss sheets to your campus, to you, so that you can look at your allocated funds that you're going to be able to use that you can utilize for additional positions for your campus. And so you guys know there are goals and our expectations of why we are reviewing staffing and our budget allocations is so that we can review and really have a good understanding of the dual language model and our master schedule, because we know our staffing assignments for our campus impact our program instructional model that we have for our school, and then of course our overall master schedule for our campus. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the roll-up. I know you engaged with me the other day when I called you, and we had to go over your rosters for roll-up membership and what that's going to look like for your campus, looking at how many students are in our particular programs for Gen Ed and bilingual. And then, of course, looking at our staff assignments that align with those numbers. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. I do have a little bit of update on some new information on how I'm going to have to go back and really look at those numbers for our campus, but I'm going to do them more in detail and depth with you. And then, of course, there just talks about how the ED, we were going to be doing that. And so we've been given a little bit more additional time. I want to make sure that in Pinkston Vertical Team, our roll-up numbers are going to be perfect to the T. So then when we calibrate against what school leadership has, that we are right on the money for that. And then, of course, our processes, of course, we're always looking at teacher certification. If they are credentialed through as a DOI, we're looking at their position code, their assignment, and how that impacts the master schedule. And then, of course, the approved courses that are allocated from our district. And then, of course, that allocates the assignments that we have for our district. Our department programming, we're going to be reviewing any recommendations or revisions as we're looking at that roll-up, discussing what are those allocations that you need for your campus in order to have your instructional model work for our campus to meet the needs of our students so that all of our students can have academic success. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the staffing guidelines, the document, and then how you are going to be receiving that document in BOSS. But we already did that for you, but you can go in there and you can look up the document for your BOSS allocations. And then we just talked about the student-centered roll-up projections and what that's going to look like. You do have some input. This is collaborative work that we are doing together so that I can be of support for you to make sure that you get the teachers that you need for your campus. And then we talked about the ratio. I know that for pre-K 3, we know that the adjustment has been made to 1:20. It was 1:18. So I want to make sure that we understand that pre-K 3 and 3 of our campuses are going to be receiving the new edition of pre-K 3. But that ratio is 1:20. And of course, what that adjustment looks like for our TAs, and then the case by case for our bilingual teacher assistants and what that's going to look like. And then the other information there that's calculated through special education, Dr. Harmon has already emailed each of you what your specialized classrooms that you hold on your campus to serve our children, of what those are going to look like for next year. Some of our campuses are going to be deleting some of their specialized classrooms, and another school is going to be adding that specialized classroom to their school. And I believe that Stevens Park is going to be getting that additional specialized classroom for our 3 and 4-year-olds for next year. And then high school, this is new Principal Ward, and I think I've already shared this with you for your PTech, that 400 plus students enrollment with a minimum of 25 students who earn a degree of the 60 plus college hours are going to be able to get an allocation of an additional AP over the guideline. So, and then the adjustment for the Career Institute. Here, we're just talking about our pre-K classroom ratio for pre-K 3, pre-K 4. The ratio, of course, for 3 being 20, for pre-K 4 being 22, and then the certifications that have to align for our pre-K classrooms. And so they must hold an early childhood certification. If they're a bilingual teacher, have to be certified in bilingual, because a bilingual teacher can serve in an ESL and Gen Ed students in the same classroom as well. And then, of course, ESL, making sure that they're going to be serving our ESL students. As we were going through the roll-up not all of our sections and not all of our classrooms have ESL. So for our campuses, they were very few and far between. Usually that just yielded mostly zeros. But for some of our campuses, we did have some that were sprinkled in. And we have to make sure that we're accounting for our ESLs so we can make sure that they're being serviced right. And then, of course, our gen ed teachers can only service our gen ed students. Here is talking about ACE and HPC. I know our campus is already met. And so getting that information on what that's going to look like for resources for our campuses. We know, and I know that this hurts, but we will not be longer having demonstration teachers. We won't have that job code. And so thinking about if you want to be able to look at that, what the capacity of that teacher is going to look like on your campus. If you have vacancies, those are things to have those conversations with them. Well, they're not going to receive notification until HCM notifies them. And so, but I know that some of us already have been having conversations with our people. They don't know that demonstration teachers are going to be formally, but I know that they already know out there. And so just be mindful that HCM is the department that notifies them, not us. And then these are the other positions that we want to make sure that we are adhering to. And then, of course, we know that those positions have been reduced by back to the 187 days. Title positions, and I'm going to ask Carlise. So Carlise, if you can come on in so I can hear your voice, and welcome to PVT. We haven't heard you in a while. It's been Happy New Year. And so we want to say welcome. Can you say hello, Ms. Landeros?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. So Ms. Landeros, I wanted to be able to cover the title positions. And so we know that in BOSS, they already have their allocations for next year. Is that correct, for their funds?
Yes, correct.
Yes. And so these are the tiered support that we look at first to see how we're going to be able to utilize our title funds. So we're going to start first at the first level. For tier 1 is our parent support position. And so Ms. Carlise, I want us to be able to understand that this is a half-time or a full-time position if the campus wants to use that position.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then would you be able to tell us the amount of what that's going to be for that parent position? Because I understand that that has been revamped.
Yes, so if you get a 0.5 in that parent support specialist, the salary for the 0.5 is, with salary and benefits, it's $29,994. So if you get a 1 FTE in that parent support specialist with salary and benefits, it's $59,976. But please remember, this position is a non-degree position, and it depends on the person you place in that position, because the salary could go down, could decrease or increase depending who you place in that position.
Could you say, so sorry, could you tell us how much is the part-time again, please?
So with salary and benefits, it's $29,994.
And I'm going to take us off stop sharing so we can see each other, and then we'll go through the other positions. Will that be better, Carlise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let me...
Okay, now I see you guys.
Just so I'm clear, Edie Vega, that position is optional.
So okay, it is, but so think about, we used to, like, just say principal contratas, you have, let's just say 100,000 in title funds, and you already know that you're going to want to be able to utilize a teacher to be able to reduce some of your classroom sizes. But since our title is a tiered support, we have to start with the first tier. So the first tier means is you're going to allocate for a parent support position. It's no longer where you have to have the parent liaison who's degreed, who yielded a higher salary, right? Salary of benefits. Now we've revamped it so that it's that amount where you could do a 0.5 or a full-time. But since it's a tiered support, you start there. So in order for you to get to that title teacher fund to reduce the classrooms, I'm going to have to buy my parent instructor, my parent support person. Do you want them part-time or do you want them full-time?
I understand.
So Ms. Vega, you said that in order for me, this is just for me, for my clarity. Good morning,
Yeah.
everyone. You
Good
said
morning,
that in
Stephen.
order for me to buy a Title I reduction teacher, I first have to buy the parent
Yes. So do you have
support.
a parent? You have a parent support right now? I think all of our campuses we do have, right?
So if I don't buy that, then I won't be able to buy the Title I teacher to reduce
So
classes.
we start at the first tier. So yes, so you're gonna have a parent support, because thinking about in the capacity they help and support. We don't have to have them full time. Remember last year we had to have them full time, or 2 campuses shared them with 0.5 each.
Okay, I guess I was just a little lost and confused
Yeah,
where
Carlise.
when I heard I have to have that parent instructor, parent, whatever the new name is, and then if I still have some money left, then that's when I can purchase a Title I to reduce classrooms numbers.
So Carlise,
Yes, ma'am.
so if Principal Murillo wants to come in and say, I don't want a parent instructor, this is hypothetical, I just want a teacher, a reduction size teacher and 3 TAs.
So she would have to request that through HCM, because they are the ones they're the ones requesting that tier. So
Yeah. And yes, I was just trying to, for us to understand, yes. So you
Yeah.
get what we're saying, Murillo? So yes, we're gonna get, you pick, you want the 0.5 to help and support in the capacity of your school, or do you want the full-time position?
I thought
How
in
much
the
would it
past
be
that
for
that
a
was
full-time?
So
Oh,
the full-time is, you're talking about the parent support specialist, correct?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, so it's 59,000. Yes, 976. But remember, the salary could go low, could decrease depending on who you place in there.
So Miss Carlis, like today, can I meet with you afterwards and say, hey, if we place the current parent instructor that I have, can you place her for me and tell me how much it would be later
Okay,
on?
so here's the thing. I can't place anybody in there because it's a different job code and a different title. The only thing I can do is notate that you want that same parent instructor. I forgot what's her name at your campus. I can just put in the notes section, because you can always recommend her, or she may even have to reapply because it's a different job code. So we have to leave that position blank when we vacant when we add it to the boss. That's the only bad thing that we have to do, is leave it as
Okay.
a vacancy.
Yeah. So Murillo, in other words, yes. So we're all gonna have a parent instructor or parent support person. Do you want them 0.5 or do you want them full-time? You
I
free
guess
up money
yeah.
if you need to, if you need to look at how you're going to balance your TA or whatever it is you're going to need. What I wanted to make sure that you know is what can you buy with title positions. And so Carlise, I want us to continue. And so any question, what if they want to buy a counselor at elementary?
So, because just remember, this is the average salary. It's 93,597. That's with salary and benefits. But
Mhm.
it just recommends who you place in that position, because it could increase or decrease. So if it decreases, we can always move those extra funds out and put them in your general supply line code. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just want to make sure that we have clarity. So you start with the parent instructor, you decide 0.5 full-time, and then you start going and looking at the next ones. Your teacher assistant, your 5715, which is your title teacher assistant, and or your Title I paraprofessional, or your if you're middle school or secondary, if you want to have AVID, then that's a 5990 title. But the teacher for class size reduction is the 6150. Is that correct, Carlise?
What code was that?
6150 is what I
Yeah,
have in
that's
my,
teacher.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's only for class size reduction. And of course, it can't be bilingual. And then for the counselor, that's only for the secondary. That's for our middle schools, for West Dallas Junior High, Quintanilla, Pinkston, and Tavali, you're considered elementary, so that doesn't apply for you. And then, of course, a social worker, and that would be at the secondary level.
My counselors are both categorized as middle school.
Okay,
So-
are they 6870s?
Yeah,
Okay, then that's you then. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. And you
Yeah.
you fund too?
yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So have you all received the email from Francisca that shows your allotment in BOSS? Everybody got their amounts? So Carlise, if there's any discrepancies with, I think it was Arcadia Park, we didn't see one of her allocations there. Does she just need to follow up with you? Because currently she's funding an additional person. So any discrepancies, how do you want them to communicate with you?
They can send me an email and we can meet quickly and discuss everything.
Okay, but Monday, when we go to the table, because Pinkston Vertical Team goes to budget on Monday, Contreras kicks us off at 8 o'clock in the morning, and Principal Ward concludes us at 3:45. They have to be able to say what they want to allocate their Title I's for positions, correct, on Monday?
Correct, because then we need y'all to go ahead and submit that part of the budget by February 15th.
Yes. And I have that on the slide deck there for a reminder so that we can make sure we have it. I just wanted you to be able to know what your amount is and to be able to be thinking about, okay, what am I going to need to fund in order to help support my instructional program at my school for Monday? Because Carlise is going to ask you, do you currently fund these positions? Are you going to continue, not continue? Is it a new position, new person? Do we have any other questions on the parent instructor, the parent support, and the class size reduction teacher? I think those are really the hot ones to purchase. And then, of course, our teacher assistants.
The same way we have dollar amounts for the counselor and the parent instructor, the teacher's a variable, I guess, and there's not a hard number for the teacher.
Can you say that again?
So the same way we have dollar amounts for the counselor and the parent instructor, do we have a dollar amount for how much the teacher costs, or that's a variable?
Yeah, no, she does. Carlise, you want to?
So one FTE teacher is with salary and benefits, it's 79,880. But we always recommend that you put your cheaper teachers in Title I. Yes. So it could be less than that, but that's the average salary of a teacher.
Yes. So Contreras, that would mean like you would put like your brand new teacher in there because they would yield the lowest amount, the lowest salary. You wouldn't put your teacher that's been there for a really long time.
Got it.
Yeah, that's what she meant.
Question, and I'm sorry, you might have already said this, but I'm processing. So on the slide that was up there for the classroom reduction, there were examples like Avid teacher and so can you put the slide up on the classroom reduction? We're only allowed to use it as a true classroom reduction, correct? We have to have the numbers
Yes.
backing it. We have to have the numbers, like, and it can't be bilingual, so it has to be through our gen ed side or ESL side.
Okay, which position are you talking about?
Well, because I'm looking at the tier 2, so the teacher assistant, paraprofessional, the tutor, and then it says counselor and social worker. So just clarifying, the teacher, the classroom reduction teacher, has to have the numbers and fit within the numbers that we have on the ESL gen ed side. And then 2, has a social worker on here. Like, what is that? Like, we can literally hire a social worker?
Carlise, what is the amount for the social worker? What is the salary and benefits for that?
It is 84,727.
Yeah. Gonzalez, I'll have to clarify, for me, that's more secondary, but are you, because that's a lot of money to utilize, but because you're thinking about social worker and the roles and responsibilities and expectations for the campus. And for me at elementary, that would be your counselor.
Well, and I'm asking because and I don't know everybody else, but like at elementary, we're getting some situations where a counselor is not able to handle those. We're relying a lot on the mental health clinicians. They're not here a lot of the times, and so we have some situations that are kind of heavy. And again, the premise is if we can catch them in the lower grades before they get to the upper grades, kind of like the whole situation, with the baby at that we were talking about. If we
Yes.
can catch them in the lower grades in elementary, that'd be better. So I'm just thinking that kind of way because it's interesting down in elementary.
Yes, no, exactly. And you have some very valid points there. But I will clarify, to me, that salary amount would be more for secondary. But I'll definitely get clarification for you, Gonzalez.
And then my only other question on that Title I tutor, 5990, it can be a full-time tutor?
What is the salary on that? For me, that would be like your avid potential title to part-time. What was the salary on that? I'm just saying that's going to.
Well, I don't have that job code on my form, so I would have to figure out that one, and then I can email you the salary on that one.
Okay, I'll check those, Gonzalez, for you. But for me, those apply, I think, to mostly secondary. But do you, for our elementary campuses that we have, I think we only have Avid at our secondary. Is that correct? Gonzalez,
So, yeah.
there used to be Avid, right, at your school?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and the only reason I'm asking and is we're not going to be HPC anymore. We still have the needs. The needs doesn't change. The needs don't change because we don't have a title anymore.
Yes.
And so if we can get a tutor, like that works with kids, I mean, because we don't know about loss. We don't know if we're getting that. And they're specific to district guidelines again. So like it would help to be able to put someone in place that will be able to support the student academic. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, and as soon as they share the information, I know that's still in the works. And so that was a conversation I was having with Carlise. And when they share it with us about the loss, we're definitely going to share it with y'all. But I'll find out on those 3. I'm almost positive they're for the secondary, but I will definitely check and confirm for that.
Vega, can we get the paraprofessional salary and benefits number, please?
Yes. Carlise?
The paraprofessional is 40,127.
And Carlise, you can email me those amounts. That would be great. This way I can put them in. I'll add them on here. This would be easier.
Okay, I will.
Because my goal is I want them to already know what they want to allocate their funds for on Monday.
Okay. I'll do that before lunch. I'll send it to you.
Okay. Alrighty. Any more questions? Arlise, we thank you for coming on last minute. And then we thank you for sharing our boss sheets with us.
Oh, no problem. If y'all want to meet with me before Monday, because I don't think I'll be at the table with you. It'll be my other coworker, Mr. Barnes, but I will be there, but on another table. So if you
Can
want
I?
to, go ahead.
I'm so sorry, Miss Carly. Can I just email you? I have just a minor question, and can I just email you before my meeting on Monday?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So if you want to discuss anything, I'm here, but my coworker will be there Monday on your table, Miss Vega.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that, Carlise.
Thank
Thank you for doing that, sending us that. Oh, one last thing. You said you wanted to remind our team of a deadline of when they need to finish spending their title funds for this year.
So February 21st is the purchasing deadline. So if you still have Title I funds, which some campuses do, I need y'all to spend it, because if we don't spend it, it's not going to rotate over to the new school year. You're going to lose it. So just go ahead and start submitting all requisitions to spend all that money.
And isn't that by 5 p.m. on that date?
Well, there's not a specific time, just as long as the principal approves it by the end of the day on February 21st. We don't do the time no more.
Oh, you don't? You don't? Okay.
We used to do 5 p.m. Now we just make sure the principal approves it by the time step of February 21st.
Got it. Okay. I think I put on the end, y'all, for reminders. I put by 5 p.m.
Oh, no, because you're going to stress them out.
Okay.
So, no, as long as it has February 21st, the date, that'll be okay.
Okay. And just to confirm, Carlise, the amount of money they have right now sitting in their line code for title, they need to be able to expense that out. What happens if they do not expense that out?
Well, you can submit a check requisition for conferences. That due date is by June 13th. Because if you still have funds after that, I mean, you won't be able to use them at all.
Okay. And then as always, anytime when you utilize title funds, you have to have documentation for your purchases. So Carlise, if we send 5 teachers to Leader in Me training, the documentation would be the certificates that they attended the PD, and all of those documents have to be uploaded in our title crate.
Correct, yes. I just want to let everybody know to make sure your office manager is uploading the documents, because the auditors are looking at everything. So please make sure they are uploading everything, because you don't want the auditor to come back and question anything.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I just wanted to make sure all of our principals understood to follow up with your office managers to make sure your title crate is current with the documentation for that. Okay. Thank you, Carlise. We appreciate you. I'll follow up with you.
Okay.
And we'll, of course, we'll see you on Monday at 8 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so that was her. She finished there. And of course, we know that we don't have any conversions. And then just looking at, when we're thinking about staffing, we have to thinking about equity and what that looks like for our schools. And then, excuse me, Of course, the bilingual and ESL partnerships. And so we already know that we will be looking at making sure we're implementing our dual language program to fidelity in our schools. And we want to making sure that we're going to look at those partner teachers in second through our fifth, sixth grade classrooms. For Pinkston Vertical Team is sixth grade, because we do have sixth grade. And so partner teachers, second through fifth. In some cases, some of our campuses are small. We just have the 1-on-1. So both of those would not be partner teachers. Some of those sometimes are self-contained. And so I just wanted to make sure that we understand that, and we know that across our district that we do have a shortage of bilingual teachers. And so we want to be able to make sure our students who are receiving their bilingual services and that they have a bilingual teacher sitting in front of them. And so we want to make sure that we have the instructional time, the minutes that we need for the content that's supposed to be in Spanish. And then, of course, when we get to second grade, hitting that 50-50, getting the English. So our math, of course, is being in English. And so for some of us, we've been doing things a little customized to meet the needs of our campus. But we want to make sure that we're upholding to the fidelity of our dual language program and really targeting the language. I did send an email out earlier, I think a few days ago, on the language of assessment for some of our dual coded students. And so some of our campuses were on the list. Make sure you follow up with your LPAC chair and your LPAC administrator for your campus, whoever's over that, to make sure that our students that were in that discrepancy, to make sure that they are assessed in one language. We cannot see them on our documentation for both languages. So their language of assessment is always in one language. And then, of course, making sure that because of our bilingual partnerships, ESL partnerships, we are also maintaining our teacher-student relationships. Here it just shows both of the program side, making sure that we're servicing what the speaker is speaking in Spanish. I know sometimes our teachers do get really comfortable speaking in Spanish, and so we want to make sure that they're also getting their 50-50 in English. Here I want us to remember the amount of minutes per content from the bilingual teacher to the ESL side and what that looks like, making sure that we have the 60 minutes for our SLAR, for social studies at 45 minutes, and our science for 45 minutes, and that it's also seen in Power School, so we can see that we're ensuring that our bilingual teacher is serving our children and meeting those minutes. And then, of course, for the ESL side, the ESL teacher meeting the 60 minutes for reading language arts and the 90 minutes for math. Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and here it just talks about the amount of BOs that that are going to be impacted for our campuses. And so for us, for PVT, we have a total of 6, and our campuses already know the BOs that they're going to be able to lose, and then they're going to be in the bucket of the 60 FOs and the 61 FOs. So I just want us to make sure that we have clarity on that. If you are not sure, let's make sure that we discuss so that on Monday that we are not going to have any surprises for that. Here, just talking about the dual language model. Of course, the superintendent, Chief Hewitt, we've already gone over all these slides. Just want to make sure that on Monday, so when we're going to staffing, we understand the justification of what we're doing to be able to service our kids. I'm going to kind of skip through the rest. You all know how to find your master schedule on Power School and the roll-up. And so let me get to the screen that shows the roll-up. I have the picture. Let me go to it real quick. Hold on. And right here, let me go back here. And so when I was calling each of you and I was looking at your current enrollment for your campuses, and I'm only talking about for my elementary campuses, and I'm talking about the middle school or high school right now. And so what we were doing is going through each of the your current enrollment, how many kids you have in your bilingual classroom, how many kids you have in ESL, and how many kids you have in your gen ed. And so we're looking at our numbers so that in kinder, we're going to be rolling up that number to first, and then in first grade, rolling up that number to second, and so forth. And so looking at the roll up is what we're going to be doing for our staffing guidelines. So on Monday, when we're going to the table, I want us to make sure that you and I, for your school, we have it down exactly on what the amount of teachers you need based on the children that are in the bilingual program, that are ESL, that are Gen Ed. And so our TC, our specialized classrooms, those are, our children are excluded from those numbers. So we want to make sure that we're only looking at the numbers from kinder through 6th grade for our campuses, excluding our specialized classrooms like TC and FLS. And so let me get to the document. And here it just shows you where we were taking the numbers and we were pulling the numbers from. And this is where I was pulling the numbers from. So when you see it on your side, you can see. Now, when I went onto some of those sections, and I know that like the 2B class was a bilingual, but I saw a Gen Ed kid, a Gen Ed student in there, and those are questions, maybe the student is coded wrong, and then I've gotten with you to say, check with your CRC to make sure that our student is coded correctly there. Because again, we're looking even at our denials, if they're denying bilingual education, our students are counted in the general education side. Okay, so let me go to the paper here. Here it just gives you a detailed look at what that looks like, but I'm going to go to my picture here. So I'm going to skip through all of this. Here it has the ratios. Let me go up to, I'm going to skip y'all real quick. Here we go. So this is the document that we did. This will be my, I think my third time we're going to do it. So as of today, I met with Chief Hewitt. And so there was a group of us and we went over some of the discrepancies that we found in some of our sections. And so I want to make sure that we have it, our kids that are coded correctly, the ones that are ESL, and then of course our children that are Gen Ed. And so as you can see for pre-K 3, the number that you have is going to roll up, of course, for the next year, that same exact number. That applies for pre-K 3, pre-K 4, and kinder. But kinder's numbers also are going to roll up to 1st grade. So if you look here as an example, and I'm just going to do this one example with you, is if you look here in kinder in this school, I'm sorry, Ms. Martinez, we're using your roll-up sheet. I hope that's okay. So if we're looking at her bilingual numbers, she has 23 bilingual students. She has 34 Gen Eds. And you can see here she has 0 ESL. So that 23 and 34 is going to roll up over here to 1st grade. So for next year in 1st grade, we're going to be looking at 23 bilingual students and 34 Gen Eds. And we know the ratio. So how many teachers does that yield? The ratio is 1 to 22. That would yield 1 teacher. So you see in yellow what's actually needed, 1. And then for 34 Gen Ed, if you divide that by 22, that would be 2. So you would receive 2 allocations. And so that's exactly what we did. But we want to make sure that when you're looking at your campus as a whole, what is the ratio per classroom? What are we looking at? Are we looking at classrooms that are 13, 14 in a classroom? We're looking at classrooms that yield 18 to 19. So not only we have to do this side, but then we have to say, wait a minute. So I'm going to add up all my numbers. I'm going to divide by the number of teachers I'm getting. What does that ratio look like? So we want to make sure that our ratio is not really, really high. I would say a good ratio would be between 18 and 19. Ratios anything below that, then we look at, like for some of our campuses that have 9 or 10 in bilingual, those may be, or we have to look at, is that a possible mixed age for that? So, okay, I'm going to come off camera here so I can talk to you guys. Okay, so based on our roll-up sheets that we went with you, how many of you were pretty comfortable, and just some of you can just share out with what the numbers, and you know, I already, because I had Carlise and Ipolito come out and share out from the bilingual department, that doesn't mean the numbers that they say that this is what is going to happen is going to happen. When I talked to Amanda Clymer today, She said it's gonna change. It may change a little bit because we're now looking at making sure we're following the roll up numbers. And that I'm not even talking about losing the BO teachers. Go ahead, Ward.
What are you talking about with roll-up numbers? What are we talking about?
This applies to our elementary campuses, Ward. So
Okay.
yeah, these are our kinder kids who are going to roll up to be in first grade, and then first grade up to second grade. And based on that roll up, looking at the numbers yields how many teachers they're going to have to be able to service our kids in there. And so, but it has to be down to the T. It has to be perfect. And so I did see some discrepancies. I'm going to have to go back. I encourage your CRCs to go into each of your sections because there are some discrepancies. If you see a question mark, that means that student is not quoted either if they're an bilingual student, if they're a gen ed, or if they're an ESL. So they're missing something. So what bucket are they being counted in? And so we know every student counts in our roll up. So we want to make sure those are clean. And our denial students, making sure they're counted in our bilingual.
So you're saying, Ms. Vega, that they're gonna base this off of the
The
rollover?
roll up number, yes. So this is
So,
my new information as of today. That's why I had my meeting with Chief Hewitt, a group of us. And so I
Okay.
confirmed with Amanda Clymer, and she says we're gonna go. So that's my homework. And I encourage for your homework, I'll share your sheets with you. And we're gonna get together. We're gonna do it together. We're gonna make sure it's exactly to the T because they're gonna be doing spot checks to make sure our numbers are right on. We cannot have any discrepancies. We cannot say, well, no, I'm off here 5 here. How come this sheet says 5? They're off by 5. We're off by 3. It has to be accurate.
So Ms. Vega, what about, this week Martinez has welcomed a few students from other districts and they're going to go into the bilingual program.
Mhm.
But we just, we are going to, we assessed them yesterday and today, but we might not get the results back by Monday. So then those numbers are not going to count for the bilingual. They're going to count for the Jeanette.
So have they completed the home language survey that they fill out that yields for them to be tested? And so, yes. So do you have testers on your campus, Ms. Murillo? So
Yes, I
make
do.
sure that
we test them, but the scores won't show. Normally it takes about 2 to 3 days before the scores show up. So we're going to the budget meeting on Monday, and maybe that 1 or 2 students, it was going to be the 1 or 2 students that I needed. So, but now if we don't have that, if the scores are not out yet, where would these particular students land at the end of the day? In the general curriculum? Although they will not be in the general curriculum because more likely we know they're going to go in the bilingual program, but they're going to be accounted for, Jeanette?
So I'll get that confirmed with Amanda. So are you talking, is it a lot of students or would it just be a few students?
This week we welcome 5 new students.
Wow.
Potential
Okay.
bilinguals.
Yes. No, I'll text her and I'll confirm that. Wow. 1 or 2 but 5 could be a difference of an allocation of a bilingual teacher. Yes. Okay. I'm texting her right now.
Ms. Vega, can I ask you one more question? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So when we're looking at our revised staffing form, we need to look at the number of teachers needed based upon rollover. That's what's
Roll up.
expected.
Yeah. And that's what I did with you. But
That's
I want
that
to
white
make sure.
column, right?
Yeah,
That white column that's after. Okay, I got you.
And so I just want to make sure, and it's good for you to know. It's good for you to know all of your classrooms, each of your kids, where they're at, making sure those the program codes are cleaned up. And Amanda did share with us a program code sheet because some of those can be a little confusing. Did you know there is a D on there and then there's a W? And so the D means denial of migratory services. So if you're looking down all your students, you go, so what's this D? Oh, that must be a denial. No, the W is the one that's the denial, but those students count in the gen ed. And so I'll scan to you the codes of what they look like so that you can have those. She just shared those with us today. And that was one that I was not familiar with, was the D, because I always thought it was for denial, and it's the W that is. Excuse me. So. Okay, I'm going to go back to the slide. Are there any questions about the roll up and the expectation that it's got to be accurate? It's got to be accurate. I would have your CRC right now say, look and making sure all our kids are coded in the right. If you go to my data portal and you look at that, the sections and click on all, what I'm going to start doing for this third time to go around, look at the all and look at all your students, and you'll be able to see at the very top, you can click on if they're EB, and then you can look on there to make sure if there's any ESL, and then you take out the students that are TC or FLS, they are not configured in there. So we want to make sure that we pull them out. Any questions on that? Okay, let me go back to the slide deck real quick because it's almost 12 o'clock. Let me get her. And I want to get to, I want to make sure we have an understanding when we go to the table. And if we're going to lose, how do we bucket our teachers and what that looks like? So. And then can y'all tell me, I just clicked over. Can y'all still see it on the screen?
We see the same document you had before.
Okay. Okay, it's slide, I'm going to go to slide 34. Excuse me. Give me 1 second. Sorry for your eyes. Okay, in identifying excess, I want to make sure that we understand what that process looks like. So for excess identification, we know that it's confidential, and we should not be sharing this information with them, right? HCM is going to be sharing that when a employee is excess. Of course, what we're going to be using is our master schedule, our campus roster, our job category grouping chart, and of course our DK regulations. And so principals, you're going to be able to enter on Monday when we're there at the table, the DK excess form in Apex for each of our employees. And so for our new principals, so Principal Contreras, we can review that with you before, and you start off at the top of the day on Monday. So I'll have to show you today to make sure you're familiar on Apex and what that form looks like. You might have from the fall. And then making sure that that's going to be part of the checkout process. And as you identify a teacher, we also have to be able to say what content, what subject the teacher is going to be able to be teaching as well. And then, of course, if there's any missing forms, then I have to make sure that I submit those and we get those in no later than February 14th. So excess employees must be identified, of course, in accordance with DK regulations. Employees who are low performing, who are engaged in misconduct, they have documented disciplinary issues. We know that's done through employee relations, right? That's a separate binder, separate notebook. And those of you who have already identified your teachers in that, you already have started that for those employees. And then, of course, sole occupier employees identified as excess. They may be released from the district by the end of the school year. And of course, they will be paid and receive their benefits through the summer through August. And then again, who notifies our excess staff is HCM. Executive director should plan to reassign employees within our own vertical team. And so me looking at all of our schools and where we're gonna have our vacancies, our holes, we want to make sure that we're going to keep our teachers in our vertical team, and if not within our vertical team, within and then within Region 1. This is the policy update. We talked about that. Edie Soltran talked about the qualitative measures. So employees who have one or more of the following qualitative measures, may be exempt from the excess pool, right? And some of those positions we know that there's not the copier, what was it, the title, the copier chair for the copiers. And so we know all of our leadership roles that we have are valid. Looking at one of our updates is the performance, our relative performance, looking at unsat and looking at progressing 1 and progressing 2. And so after you're looking at that qualitative measure, looking that next level would be looking at the performance of the performance of the teacher. These were some examples. This is the exact same example that was shared with us at the principals meeting. And so it's just looking here at teacher 1, you have teacher 1, teacher 2, and teacher 3. All of these teachers have received a progressing 1, and they're